For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tom Robinson. I'm with A&O Incorporated out of Arlington Heights, Illinois. We are a Midwest distributor of sinks and faucets, specializing in sinks and faucets not sold on the internet, so you guys can actually make a few dollars. To the best of my knowledge, we're the only brand that doesn't sell on the internet that will stand behind what we do. Our primary product has been Eclipse for many years. We started selling stainless steel sinks to granite guys before they knew they wanted to sell sinks. And at that point it was a matter of concern that they wanted to sell sinks at all, not which sink they wanted to sell. Jim and I are independent. We can sell anybody's sink. We sell Eclipse because we believe they're absolutely the best sink on the market for a number of reasons, and we're going to go into those today. Why Eclipse? Better steel, better processes, certified quality, and Eclipse brand. What does that mean to you and your customers? Better steel. Our steel is 304 stainless. And I can prove it. I can show you the certifications that it's been tested. It's not only tested in the factory, it's tested aftermarket. So it's 304 stainless. Now why that? 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, there was a tariff placed on Chinese sinks, and instantly Chinese sinks went up 70% overnight. What happened is a lot of the guys, at the time of those hearings, one of our colleagues down in Tennessee went and bought every sink he could find and tested sinks. He could only find 3 that were, that even though they claimed to be 304, that tested to be 304. Okay. It got worse after the tariff. Before the tariff, I would about once a quarter I'd get a call from somebody that a rusted sink. I never saw a rusted sink, Eclipse or anybody's, prior to that tariff. After that, guys were saying, we can't afford 70%, make it cheaper, make it cheaper, make it cheaper. I've seen rusty sinks, I've seen sinks that have like little specks of iron where it didn't, I don't know if it doesn't mold or whatever. I've seen a lot of bad sinks since then. 304 stainless is 18% chromium. Chromium is what makes it shiny. If you take iron and add 11% chromium, it becomes stainless steel. Stainless steel, by the way, is a misnomer. Stainless steel is not stainless, it won't rust. Okay?
Vince.
Yeah, that's
Music.
driving me nuts.
Oh,
Sorry.
I can't hear it.
You probably have a hammer at home that it doesn't rust, it's stainless steel, but it's 11% chromium, so it's not shiny. Okay? 304 stainless is also 8% nickel. Nickel is what hardens the finish so it lasts longer. You guys probably tear out, when you tear out the drop-in tract house sinks, they're kind of yellow brown. They're not, not brown like your wall, but they're just not shiny anymore. That's because they don't have enough nickel. They turn over time. A lot of the steel today is who knows what. Even some of the major manufacturers are using 301 stainless. Now 301 stainless doesn't make a bad sink. I mean, it does all the same things that 304 is. And quite frankly, if you put 301 on your desk and then came in here and looked at them 2 rooms apart, it'd be hard to distinguish. The problem is you put a 301 stainless sink in, and all of a sudden they put their $5,000 stainless steel refrigerator, it won't match. Okay, so you have to be careful. 304 is the best steel for sinks. It's also appliance grade, so it's going to match your appliances. Okay, better processes. Eclipse sinks, the first thing is the brushing is done by machine. If you like the brushing on this sink, you'll like it on the next one because it's consistent, it's always done the same way. A lot of them are done by hand, a lot of them are done by, especially with this, they aren't maintaining the machines, you'll get a lot of differential in the finish. You don't in Eclipse. The second thing is Eclipse presses the right bowl then the left bowl, and welds them together. You see the weld mark at the top and the bottom? You don't see it in the middle because of the
Right,
paint. You see
right.
this weld mark? Okay, what that does, when you make a stainless steel sink, I got some other copies of that. You start with a square piece of steel. And you draw the bowl, and the steel for the sides has to come from somewhere. Okay? See how that warps in the corners there? See how that warps? That's because it's drawing that steel up in to make those sides. Now, when you do it one bowl at a time, all four sides are equal thickness. Okay? Now, Eclipse cuts that off and welds two of those together like this. Okay? Now, cheap guys, to make cheaper sinks, they press two bowls at the same time. When you press two bowls at the same time, that material's still got to come from somewhere. Where does it come from? It comes from stressing the center, particularly the sink. Stress can come anywhere in the sink, but particularly right there where the two bowls go together. You will noticeably, this is an 18 gauge Eclipse sink. It's almost warm enough. Vince, feel that. Oh, pick it up.
Oh, left. You said feel it, you didn't say left.
Okay, now, when you draw two balls at the same time, it is noticeably lighter because these walls are going to be thinner than the other walls.
Okay.
This is an annealed sink. Annealed means it's pressed and heated, pressed and heated, pressed and heated, but it's stretched. You notice there is no weld mark on there. This sink is $30. This is an Eclipse sink. It's $30 less than this because we press one at a time. Now, notice the pads on the side of the sink. If you buy a sink that brags about the pads, almost always, the more pads, the cheaper the sink, because they have to make up. If you don't have pads, when you run the water on it, it'll make noise.
Right.
So, anybody bragging about pads means that they're making thinner or cheaper steel. Okay?
We show the pads, please.
That's pad.
That's pad on the side.
That Eclipse puts them on bottom for condensation.
That's it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now, Vince was kind enough to bring in this other sink that you had in the back somewhere.
Medelli?
See how big those pads are? The bigger the sink, the bigger the pads, the cheaper the steel. Now, the other thing that you'll notice that the brushing on that goes side to side, whereas ours all go front to back. When you throw a fork in the sink, where do you put it? You throw it from the front or you throw it from the side?
Right.
That will hide scratches better than that. Okay. So, sinks that are individually pressed are always going to be heavier than sinks that are individually pressed. It's also going to be, now you will see in double press sinks, you'll see imperfections along here, particularly here. It can be anywhere in the sink, but particularly here. And they're not going to be dense, but they're like ripples, dipples, just stress marks. You've probably seen them, okay? And the problem is sometimes you don't even see them. So you put the sink in, the granite set, and then you turn the light on, and where's this light? Right over the kitchen sink. So you just got to be careful about that. But they are cheaper. Okay, that's better processes. Certified quality. When Dubuque writes a plumbing code, they don't start from scratch writing a plumbing code. What they do is they adopt one of the model codes, either the Uniform Plumbing Code or the International Building Code. And the third, there's three major ones, those two, and then the Canadian Building Code. All three of the major model codes require that the sink, not just the sink, but the sink, the pipes, the faucet, everything be certified to meet ASTM 112.19.3. Okay? Did you ever go to the big box store, the big box lumber store, And all the pipes have writing down the sides. They're usually blue or red writing on the side of the pipe, the white pipes. That's, if you look close, that's what it'll say. Now, back when, before Eclipse started selling to granite fabricators, you bought sinks through plumbing supply houses, and they were plumbers, so they kind of self-policed that, and it wasn't a problem. Then came the granite fabricators and the god-awful free sink, and what's the most important thing if you're giving away a free sink? How cheap can you buy it? So with the internet, with other sources became available that didn't include the certification to meet ASTM 112.19.3. There won't be a test later, you don't have to memorize it. Most sinks on the market today sold to granite fabricators are not certified. Particularly the guy, there's one of the granite guys that's running around giving away sinks. Now those are particularly nasty. The stretch marks are particularly nasty. His sink is not certified. For a while he had UPS right on his brochure, and somebody sent one of those to UPC, and all of a sudden they all disappeared. There's another guy at Ohio who used to say he was UPC certified, and we made him at all the shows, and the third Martini, he told us that he got an excess of $100,000 fine for calling himself UPC, though when he wasn't. I don't know if he remembers telling us that, but okay, so certified quality, we meet ASTM 112.19. I can show it to you. You can look it up on the IAPMO. IAPMO is the agency that does UPC certification. You can look us up, find Eclipse on there that we're certified. The other thing is, Eclipse sinks are CNC certified. As you know, CNC machines are the computer operated machines that make countertops. Nobody else can be CNC certified because Eclipse invented it. What it means is this will fit every time. We jig it 3 times in the factory to make, if it doesn't fit, it goes to somebody else. They sell it to somebody else. So these will fit. I have a customer down in southern Illinois who ships to 4 states. He never sees our sinks. He cuts the granite and ships it to his installer wherever in Wisconsin or Illinois or Indiana, and he never sees our sinks because he knows it'll fit every time. Okay, he doesn't have to do an overhang or a setback or whatever. They fit. So they're CNC certified to fit. Even if you, I don't know if you guys are using a CNC machine, but even if you aren't, once you make a template, you're done. You don't have to worry about it over, and if something does happen. Now, the 16 gauge stainless steel sink, I've only seen 1 damaged. The advantage of a 16 over 18 is it's a little less likely to damage. But the most important thing is it's quieter. When you run the water on it, it will be quieter. The only one I've ever seen damaged is somebody dropped a 12 by 12 full thickness granite sample on it, put a crease in it. You can't do it. But if you do, you can change it because it's going to fit every time. Okay. You might get into it. Here is the 16 gauge. You feel the 16 gauge. Feel how much nicer that's a heavy. And you're all welcome to come feel these later. I just don't want to take all your time with it. But this is 90% of what we sell is 16 gauge. Now, if you take my 18 gauge double press sink and put it next to what a lot of guys are selling you as 16 gauge on the internet, my 18 gauge, and I've done this a number of times, my 18 gauge will be heavier than their 16 gauge, in part because of this, but in part because I think there's just, nobody's checking. Okay, so certified quality and Eclipse brand. What does Eclipse brand mean to you? It's certainly Eclipse brand is not as well known as the big 3 or 4. We started selling to granite fabricators because the big guys wanted to sell containers or at least the pallets. They didn't want to bother with selling to fabricators 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 at a time. So that's what created the market. Eclipse has been in the market for 10 years, a little over 10 years, which is longer than anybody else serving the fabricator market. So that's, you know, we've been here for a long time. When the tariff was in place in China, they moved out of China. They now have shops factories in Korea and Malaysia. The Malaysian one is the one that's coming up with the 602 and 603 sinks, which are the lower price sinks. And more importantly, if you have a problem with an Eclipse product, any product that A&O sells, you don't have a problem, I have a problem. You send me the name, address, phone number, what they bought and when they bought it. Unfortunately, it just happened. And we take care of it. Whatever that is, we take care of it. If I can't solve it, I'll go to their house. I don't think I've had to go to anybody's house, but it does happen. And I may have told you the story before. I had a customer who called me up and said they got the lady had a rusty sink, and it was a brand new customer, and it was a zero radius, big zero radius. So I ran right out to check on the sink, and I was all worried, rusting sink, new customer, I don't want to. So I looked at the sink and it's orange. Didn't look like rust to me, but it certainly was discolored. And so I looked at it and I said, oh, when did this happen? Now in my mind, I'm thinking the tile guy or somebody, painter, I don't know, somebody did something because it's not rust. And she said, well, it doesn't happen all the time. And I said, well, when does it happen? She said, every time I cook spaghetti.
Oh my God.
So the point of the story is not to pick on the poor lady. The point of the story is if you have an issue, whatever that issue is, I'm going to take care of it and get involved in it because usually we can figure out what it is. We just had an issue with a sink that didn't drain. Well, the plumber had forced in the garbage disposal and made the whole bottom of the sink pop up. Doesn't matter. You don't have to know what those are because I will take care of it and deal with it, whatever that is. And that includes the faucets and, sinks we don't have many issues. About once a quarter I'll get a call on a rusty sink that isn't, it's a dog food can, it's a grandma's knife. I had one guy who was cleaning a sink and I said, boy, this looks like a carburetor. Someone was cleaning a carburetor and the husband disappeared out the door. So, but doesn't matter, it's usually their water, something, and pretty quick I've done enough of them that I can figure it out and you don't have to worry about that. So, that's what the Eclipse brand means to you. Okay, I've got the new Eclipse 602 18 gauge double pressed. I've got R802 and I've got, which you're all welcome to, pick up and feel and see. But that's pretty much a quick overview of the sinks. This is our newest brochure. I don't think you even have this yet. For those of you who don't know, these are 16 gauge. Our 18 gauge fits in the same hole. So if you upsell to the 16 gauges at the last minute, the only exception is our Napa, the 3018, because that's a big piece of sheet metal, we do not recommend that in 18 gauge. It just is too noisy. So we only sell it in 16 gauge, and it does have a pad on the bottom, not on the sides, but on the bottom. We are in the process of switching our zero radius to very small radius. The zero radius, we have that corner where everything comes together. It's hard to clean in that corner. The fabricators hate them because they won't work on their CNC machine. It's hard to polish, and you wind up with, when you have a square corner, you wind up with a perfect place for a crack to start.
Right.
So we've gone to a small 1/2 to 3/4 inch radius in the corners of all the sinks. Now that's in the corners and where the bottom meets the sides. First thing is it's easier to fabricate. Second thing is it's much easier to clean. And the advantage that we didn't expect is it's a much quieter sink because you're putting the bend on this big piece of sheet metal. You're putting the bend on it and it stiffens it up and it just makes it a much nicer sink instead of a collection of sheet metal. And it looks less industrial. We're real happy with it. I currently have the 3219 and the 1919, which actually is an inch smaller than we had. We had 20 by 19. It's easier to get the faucet in. So these two are in stock right now. I will have these by the end of the year. Now the other thing we've done is the double equal and the offset. I didn't need that. The double equal and the offset will both fit in the 32 by 19 opening. So Andrews only has to have the one jig, but the only, no, the 60, that's doubled equal, the divider's in the middle. The 60/40 is not an offset bowl, it's just the divider is offset to one side. Okay, but those will be ready by the end of the year. I still have some of the old ones left in California. I don't have any in Chicago, but I got some in California if somebody still wants the zero radius. Designers like the zero radius, you know, it's different.
Oh, more contemporary.
Okay, we also have lab bowls. We got a 183 and a 193, which fit the brand name cutouts pretty much. We do have a pretty good price on our rectangular lab bowl. Our sinks can come with grids. Now those are 304. That's one thing I forgot to bring in. This is a sample of the grids. They are 304. Matches our sinks. A lot of them use cheaper steel because nobody checks on what the grid is. The welds are awful and terrible on these. Ours are going to be good welds on them. They also have black feet. A lot of them come with the clear feet, and then you get, you know, dirt gets in the feet and this looks nasty. So the black feet. Now you can take, to clean them, all you got to do is take off the feet, put it running through the dishwasher, and you can, you know, they clean pretty easily.
Yeah.
The one thing, the best thing to clean stainless steel sinks with, by the way, is Barkeeper's Friend. It's about, it looks like Ajax or Comet or one of those, and a Scotch-Brite pad. I can make a real old sink look almost brand new with that. It'll take out minor scratches. If you do get somebody with a major scratch, we have a product called Scratch Away that will take out pretty significant scratches. If they're ice skating in the bottom, I can't take care of that, but you know, stainless steel is great for a lot of things for a kitchen, but it does scratch. Okay, we also have the 420, which is that is a stainless steel lap bowl. It doesn't, the picture show it looks like it's white.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it is round and it is a stainless steel lap bowl. Okay, and that's about everything I know about sinks.
Pam, are you gonna come out at all with any colanders? For
So what?
Colanders at all, you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
I had somebody ask me that the other day, actually.
You know, there's so many aftermarket ones, and you know, it's just not. You know, we're competing with all the big box stores. People want to go see it, touch and feel it, and it's just not. Most of our stuff it's got attached to granite.
Yeah.
Doesn't attach to granite, we don't usually.
Maybe.
That's the mindset. Okay. Any questions I missed? Anything, questions you want to know?
Quick one on the brushing for the gauge. It seems a little finer than a lot of the other ones too. Is it specifically finer?
They are. The new ones are going to be. You're right, and we're going back to the more coarse ones.
Okay.
If you look at our old 500 series, they were coarser.
Yeah.
The Korean ones were a little less coarse. The Malaysian ones are going to go back to being a little coarser.
Okay.
Quite frankly, when we went to Korea, we had to bring in Eclipse, not me personally. Eclipse had to go buy the machines and give it the typical Korean sink. You've heard of the new flat finish. People are talking about a flat finish. What a flat finish is they stamp it and send it out. So you know, some of the factories were, you know, if you single press it instead of double press it, and then you stamp it and send it out, you're missing 3 of the 4 steps. So obviously it's cheaper. Yeah, yes, the Korean one is finer. Okay. We're going back to more like that.
Okay. What's the reason for going back to the more aggressive or coarser?
It's not quite so. It hides scratches a little better.
Okay.
And it's a little easier to repair. That's harder to repair than.
Right, it's a little finer.
Yeah.
What do we want to do for our displays then?
Yeah, I don't think your customers will ever. You might notice because you're holding it. I don't think your customers will ever notice.
You're gonna hit.
Big box stores buy the same way that granite fabricators do. They will call in, they called Eclipse in and said, oh, we're going to buy 1 million faucets, but here's what we're going to pay. Eclipse said, oh, no, we're not doing that. But the big brands went back and created a cheaper product to meet that price. So how do we compare? There's no comparison. Okay, they're going to be lighter. Pick one up. If you had an and I don't want to pick on one brand, but any of the big box stores, if you bring one of their sinks in, their brand name sink, Tuscany, I think is one of them. If you put that next to even my lighter sinks, you won't have to sell it. The customer will sell themselves unless all they care about is price, and then you're going to get a better price. But what they're selling for $240 or thereabouts is what they're paying $50 or $60 for it. So it's just not a. And I know who the supplier is, a good reputable supplier, but he's trying to meet a price. A great example of that is faucets. If you go and pick a brand name faucet, and you go and you find it at one of the big box stores, then you go to the plumbing, I don't know who the plumbing, Ferguson,
McDonald's.
or whatever. Go to the plumbing supply house. You will find the same box, the same picture, everything's the same except the number's different. And if you weigh them, the big box version will be 3 to 4 pounds lighter than the plumbing supply house version, because they're found ways to make it cheaper to meet that price that the big box stores are dictating. Now, your customer who goes and buys on the internet, he doesn't know if he's getting the big box version or the plumbing supply house version. There's no way to know unless you can research the numbers and find out which is which. But the internet site's not going to tell you, oh, we got the cheap version. So, and the problem with the internet is always the warranty, and you don't get the Eclipse brand. You don't get Tom with that. Okay, any other questions?
Yes, going back to the brushing.
Yeah.
I've had people tell me that the brush itself is a steel wool or something, and it actually embeds into the sink. So sometimes when you get little bitty pinpoint things of rust in your sink, it's actually off of the wheel.
It can be. Now, in 7 years I've been doing this, I used to be a home builder for many years. You remember home builders back? They used to exist. I think I've seen it 3 times where you get, yes, if you'll get little pinpoints, like pinpoints of it, and usually if you do that with a barkeeper's friend, and now it'll come right off and it won't come back. If it comes back, then it's something else, but it usually won't. That particular issue you can have, it can come from the brushing. It can also come from the carburetor and blades they use in the factory. I mean, you get dust, and if it's sitting out there, the dust can settle on it, and it doesn't turn rusty until you put water in it in your house. So anywhere in the construction process, you can get that. I mean, electricians sawing a pipe and the dust or whatever. So that yes, it's possible to come from the factory brushing, but it's also possible to come from other steps in the process. Okay? Anything else? Okay, we'll start talking about faucets. Faucets are a little more fun. Okay, because our customer was Granite Fabricators, when we started this, we said, what do you want? And in fact, one of the owners of Eclipse Stainless is a granite fabricator in North Carolina, uses a CNC machine, which is why if you have a problem with the DXF files or anything, they can help you with that. So we said, what do you want in a faucet? One of the things they told us is they don't want anything that interferes with the backsplash. So,
Thank God.
huh?
Thank God.
Our first faucet was the Shasta. Now that handle, and I didn't bring all these in because you have them all displayed out there, so I didn't, but I just want to give you, that handle, full on is straight up and off is forward, so it never goes beyond straight up, so you don't have to worry about the backsplash or window sill or whatever. So that was the first thing they wanted. The other thing is they wanted something solid and heavy like their granite. When your granite is solid material all the way through, it's heavy. Faucets tend to be a finish on top of plastic or some other substrate like laminate tops or plastic on top of something else. So they wanted something solid. Are you familiar with Eclipse products? I know Gretchen is, but okay. They are solid stainless all the way through. Okay? This is our newest model. This is the Appleton. Okay? It's very similar to our Cascade. It doesn't have the ring around the neck that the Cascade had, so it's a little sleeker. The first thing your customers will notice is how heavy they are. So they're solid, they're not, you know.
They're really heavy.
Yeah, the customer is going to here, you'll hide it there. Your customer is used to pulling them out, you know, and about half of them will say, "Oh wow," when as soon as they pull it out, because we call it the built-in wow. In Tennessee, it's the built-in dang. I asked the lady in Tennessee, in Kentucky who said that to me. I said, "How many syllables are in dang?" She said, "Oh, we took all the syllables out of Louisville and put them in dang." These are sand cast stainless steel. Faucets are known for having 3 different tones in the 3 different parts, particularly the oil rub bronze are particularly known for that. But even the stainless steel, we were at a show about a year ago and across the street with one of the big brand names, and sure enough, all 3 of his components were different colors. Usually this is sand cast, this is pipe stock, and this is foil on plastic. These are all sand cast, so it matches within itself. It matches our sinks today, tomorrow, forever, because it's 304 stainless. There's no finish to come off. No, it's solid stainless steel. So it's not going to peel like the chrome or something. I used to have a sample that showed the chrome peeling off, but so many people cut themselves on it, I stopped carrying it. Now, the one kind of neat thing about this one is that's cold to hot. So you don't have to worry, it doesn't go beyond, I got this tilt a little bit, it doesn't go beyond the body of the faucet, so you don't, you know, you can get it if you have a tight finish. Okay, that's what our guys told us was important. Eclipse has a spring instead of a weight. The nice thing is, even if there's something underneath it, a soapbox or something under, the pipes under there, it's still going to work. It's not going to bang on the plumbing.
Excuse me. Sorry.
We've just changed this so this will pull itself back. So if you want to take a feel of how nice and heavy that is.
You need another spring, don't you, Andrew?
I got spring, if you want a new spring, I got new springs in there. It always happens when I'm doing this. I mean, see, that's why I stand by the door so they can't get out.
You didn't lock it very well.
No, I didn't. Well, see, you don't have a, you got the cheap ones. Well, it works better when it's mounted in granite. You've got a base to pull it from. You're trying to pull against yourself. It's a little. Here's the. We did change the brochures to a gray cover too, so they don't look just like that.
Good idea.
That was Tom's error. Well, this is almost warm, isn't it?
It almost is.
Okay. We have, in addition to the Shasta, which I told you about before, we have 4 goosenecks. Now, the nice thing is you can cross-sell them against each other. The Poseidon, Appleton, and Cascade are all the same size. The only difference between the Cascade and the Hampton is it's shorter. It's not smaller, it's shorter. So that if you have somebody who's worried about the backsplash or a cabinet, you can get it in there. Originally that was designed for like your kitchen events like we were talking about. This was the kitchen sink and this was the vegetable bowl. So now that handle is made, it's high enough that it goes over a 4-inch backsplash, but it can be mounted to the front if you choose to, or on the quarter point, so you can avoid the conflict with the backsplash. That's this one. That's these 2 up here. Okay. The Poseidon, you have 2 of them on display, beautiful ones out there. It's the same size as the other ones. It has a little more traditional feel to it. Again, that handle can be mounted. These handles all can be mounted in any direction. You can mount these in any direction. This one, you wouldn't want to mount to the front because of the way it's positioned, but all of them you can mount in any direction, including to the back if you're on an island. We have a very contemporary, this is a Jacob Jensen design, who I have no idea who he is, except all the designers say, ooh, Jacob Jensen. It's very pricey. We have these two, the 3033 and the 3032 are pull-out faucets. They do not go from flow to spray. We're gonna have a version of the 3033 that will go from flow to spray, but we're gonna coming out with a new head for it. I have a few in stock right now. I don't know if you remember the old big one with the big spring on it. We took the head off of that, put it on here, and so if you have somebody that likes the 3033 but wants to flow to spray, I've got an option for you coming. I only have a few of them in stock.
You can come back out with an industrial spring version? Some people like that.
Not until the problem is not just with the Eclipse faucet, it's with everybody who sells it. What he's talking about is that you've probably seen the one with the big spring on them, you know, they look kind of industrial. The problem we had with them is if you make the spring strong enough so that the head doesn't sag over time and look limp, if the customer, because you know you're that far off the sink and then you got the sink, it splashes. You know, if in a commercial kitchen the guys wear full aprons, you know, they don't care if they get wet. In a kitchen, if they pull that head down to try to rinse the sink, it leaks where the head meets over time, it leaks where the head meets the hose. Well, Eclipse said, okay, we'll fix that, and made a much stronger joint, and now it leaks back at the body where the spring meets. Okay, so it's not, and we, at the shows, we talk to people, our competitors, and they all have that problem with the faucet. Either it hangs down, or, because that hose doesn't pull out, it works on the spring. If you have a customer who's going to use it the way it's intended to be used, it's fine. But we don't, you know, if Vince has a problem, he's going to stop selling my stuff. So I don't want him to have a problem, so if it has a problem, if it's problematic, we stop selling it.
Okay.
Okay. We have two bar faucets. The Atlantic is the one you've had for a while. The Madison is our brand new one. These do not pull out, the lower price point. Terrific bar faucets. The Sebastopol also works great as a bar faucet with a pull-out sprayer. That's the 3033. We sell a lot of those as a bar faucet. We also have the Taurus F7A. That is a filter RO faucet. If somebody's putting in a reverse osmosis system in and wants a faucet that matches their other stuff, because most of those things come with a little chrome one that's just about big enough for a glass. This is bigger, so you can put a pot under it. It's also stainless steel, so it matches the rest of the system. Okay, our kitchen faucets by default come with a soap dispenser.
Back to the, so someone's gonna have to buy the system, and they're just gonna throw the faucet away and use ours?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a system for it, and nor do I have, will that work just hooking up to the plumbing? You gotta have the system. You gotta have okay. By default, these come with soap dispensers. You can save a few dollars by not doing it, but frankly it's worth more than, because the shipping is so cheap, it's worth more than the credit you get. We made these longer, so you don't have to drill so close to the edge and worry about a breakout. Also, if it does drip, it drips on the edge of it drips on the bottom of the sink. It doesn't drip on the edge of the granite down like some of the shorter ones do. Here's the biggest difference. It has a stainless steel wick. Most of them are plastic. If you have one on display from somebody else that's plastic, it's a sucker, but 9 times out of 10 they'll be broken. Because this is a top fill. The customer doesn't have to climb underneath the sink to do it. You pull it off, pour it in, put this back in. If the customer has a problem, we just send them a new head. It's real easy to replace. We used to have metal canisters. What we discovered was when you do the metal sides, you have to weld it to the bottom. And something in some soaps, the degreaser, particularly Dawn was known for it, wouldn't rust the stainless steel, but it would rust the weld. And so I think in 7 years I saw 3 that rusted through, but in any case they went to plastic to avoid that issue. Okay, this comes with all the faucets except the Poseidon. Poseidon comes with this one because it's a little more of the traditional and goes with the style. Okay.
And just got a question, any kind of soap okay to use with it?
Yes.
Doesn't matter, okay.
Yeah. The biggest issue we have on them is somebody goes on vacation to Florida for a month or, both winters and they come back and the soap dispenser doesn't work. We gotta run it under hot water. I do have maintenance instructions how to take it apart and work on it. So if somebody has an issue, I got a video on it. Usually if we send them the instructions in the video, they don't call back. So it's available. I did forget to mention, all the sinks by default come with a basket strainer. This does have a brushed finish on it to go with the sinks.
So it automatically comes with every sink.
It comes with one. Again, you can save $10 by ordering it without the strainer. Yeah, because usually the garbage disposal goes on the other side. Okay. Eclipse also has a 3 lab faucets. Those sometimes sell better out of the box because they're so heavy. I apologize, that one is particularly cold this morning. It's your Iowa cold though, it's not, I didn't bring it that way.
Nice and heavy.
See how solid that is? In China, they actually sell those to hotels, and 10 years later they trade them. They sell them a new one, they take that back, they repolish it, put a new cartridge in, refurbish it, and sell it as a refurbished to another hotel. That's how solid it is and how well it works. Okay, what's the biggest problem granite fabricators have with lab faucets?
Backsplasher.
The pop-up drain hits the backsplash. So Eclipse went to open, closed. And it's just like a vessel bowl. Now, the Roan Alta is 8 inches tall and is actually tall enough to do with a small vessel bowl. The only thing, if you order with a small vessel bowl, you have to tell me that because this, that hole is the overflow for the sink. That vessel bowls don't have. We have a technical term for that. If you use it in a vessel bowl, it's called a leak.
Might want to change that name.
You don't like that name? Anyway, so if you're doing it, this comes by default. There's an extra charge for the other one, but because it's made level. But if you want it, you got to tell us so we can get that for you. So that's pretty much the Eclipse faucet presentation. Any questions? Anything I missed?
The cartridge that's in there, about how long can they expect for a cartridge to last? Is that 10 years? It kind of depends on what they do.
If they have a handyman instead of a plumber,
Okay.
about 20 minutes.
Okay. Didn't flush the pipes. They got it all clogged up.
There's no. It can last for 20 years. It can last 6 months. It depends on what's in their water.
Okay.
The only thing that the cartridge is the part. That's a cartridge. Okay, it sits underneath the handle, and it's the piece. It sits underneath here. You take this handle off, and you see it. It mixes the hot and cold water and turns it on and off. What happens if you get debris in there is what the only thing to do it. This faucet was a brand new faucet, okay, and they call us the cartridge is leaking. So we went out there and looked at it. This is only about half of the debris we got out of it. What happens is when you guys put in a new kitchen, you take out the sink and the faucet and you rattle the pipes. So if there's any minerals or anything built up in there, and a new house, believe it or not, is worse because they've been welding, soldering and doing there's all kinds of debris. If they don't flush it first, the first thing you should do is there's 2 water lines that come with the Eclipse faucet, which don't come with most faucets. The water lines, you should hook them to the wall, put them in a bucket, run all the water into a rag so you don't splash all over, but get all the debris out of there first and then hook it to the faucet and work it. If you don't do that, whatever debris or minerals are there goes right to the cartridge, and it goes. It doesn't matter if you have somebody who did it. We send them a new cartridge anyway. We're not, but that's the biggest problem we have. If a cartridge plugs, there's something in it, and if a new cartridge is plugged. A couple of years ago, was it 2011 or 12 when we had that drought all summer, everything was dry. we got a lot of the water mains were breaking because the ground was settling because there wasn't enough water, and they were repairing. We were getting a lot of debris in the faucets. We still send out the cartridges, so that's.
Are they standard cartridges? I mean,
They're specific to our brand, but there's no cost. So you call us, we send them. They're not.
well, in 3 or 4 years, somebody called their plumber in because they got an issue. They're
5 year for. The Clips will send you one for 5 years. If A&O gets the call, we don't ask what's going on.
okay.
And just normal, ordinary wear and tear shouldn't be an issue for,
No. It's a ceramic cartridge. It should,
Okay.
and no, it should not be an issue.
okay.
But we have to go through you to get them. I mean, just, because I've had customers ask, is there anything special, about the cartridge or what, something like that? And I said, no. So, not knowing.
Well, it's not, almost every faucet has their own specific cartridge.
All right.
Okay?
Well, back to the, how tall is that space?
8 inches
Okay.
clear. If you want detailed,
Does the faucet itself spin?
no.
No, it's locked, okay.
If you want detailed dimensions, if you go to anosales.com, I think I sent you guys the Dropbox with all the stuff in there. It's all over. If you don't have it, I'll send you another link to the Dropbox. But all our brochures are in the Dropbox. They're all also on. If you send a customer to anosales.com, it's better than sending them to eclipsestainless.com because if you send them to Eclipse, you're liable to get some faucets that we don't sell. For example, the big spring one.
Am I right in assuming that you could get them if somebody had a look that they wanted, but you just would rather not carry them, correct?
I will sell you one
Okay.
with the caveat that you might have an issue.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have sold some,
Okay.
and we sold one about 6 months ago to somebody. I said, "Oh, you don't want it?" "Oh no, he wants it. He understands." Sure enough, we had to send on the hosket. And we have a repair for it. It's a pain in the neck,
I understand.
and you don't need it. Okay, anything else? But you can get all the full brochures with all the dimensions off of our website, and it's on my card that I just gave you. Okay.
So, one second.
I'm rushing. The only problem with, sorry. No, we're losing somebody. The only problem with Eclipse Stainless is we're getting with the granite composite sinks. We were getting so many requests for oil rub bronze. We can't do oil rub bronze. One of my designer friends told me it was a living finish. Well, it was a little too living, and the finish came off. You just can't get it just fixed stainless steel. So we looked for 3.5 years for a faucet that, number one, that we could stand behind, because remember, I get the call if there's a problem. So quality was real important to me. But more, important to our customers is we had to find a faucet that wasn't sold on the internet. Okay. We looked for 3.5 years, and this is the first one we could find with a quality we could stand behind and wasn't sold on the internet. Friendo has been in business 20 years, not servicing the fabricator market, which is why we are so excited about this. Now, this is a brushed nickel. One of the things about Eclipse is they're lead-free. There's no lead. You've heard about the ANSI 64. It started in California. California passed a law that you had to be lead-free. The faucet guys all said we can't do that, so they said you can have up to 0.25% lead in the water channel. We started seeing faucets that were made for the California market with coils of copper on here to increase the weight and the length of the water channel so they could get down to 0.25%. Didn't change the amount of lead in the faucet. It was hilarious. In any case, there is no lead in it. The Eclipse is absolutely lead-free. Okay. These have a brass structure with a finish on them. It's a little more easy to damage. However, it does have the copper goes all the way up to the head, and the head is plastic. it is lead-free water channel, so there's no lead in the water channel. Okay. This is nice, it does retract real nice, as long as you don't have a soapbox under it. So you gotta be a little careful about where you got more than the customer, you can't pack. My sink at home's got so much stuff under it, this would never work, okay? It can bang on the plumbing as well, I mean, if the pipe's just in the wrong place, can't hit on there.
Missed that.
What number is that?
Pardon?
Which one is this?
This is
It's not in there.
the,
It's not in here.
I'm sorry. You'd think I never did this before. Did we lose Gretchen?
Yep.
This is the Friendo, it is the Oak Brook model. Now this is actually taller than the Eclipse. See? But because the pipe is smaller, it doesn't read as heavy. Okay, see it's taller. The, you can mount the handle in any direction. Okay, it's a nice faucet. It's just not as heavy as the other one. Now, we then have, this comes in oil rub bronze and brushed nickel. We have a shorter faucet, a shorter gooseneck, the Arlington. That has the head kind of has a seashell shape to it like this. All the ones except the Oak Brook have a seashell shape to the bottom. So this one is a little, these run about $100 less than the Eclipse, okay? But this is the same height as the Cascade and the Poseidon and those. Okay, we have a 3-hole and a single-hole lav faucet, again in brushed nickel and oil rub bronze. It's a heavy, solid body faucet. See, it's nice, heavy. It does have the traditional pop-up drain.
Pop up, straight up?
Yeah. The 3-hole actually comes out of the body and it does go exactly straight up.
Okay.
This has got this. So it's,
Okay.
you gotta be a little more careful with that one than with the Eclipse. But that's the oil rub bar finish. Now, we have not noticed any variation between the 3 parts that I mentioned in the other, in the gooseneck. They all match pretty well. I have a gooseneck that it's been riding around in my car for about 1.5 years in the oil rub bronze. In the winter, it rides on the floor of my passenger seat, so I don't have the cold problem when I take it in to customers. And it's got a few scratches on it, but it holds up very, very well.
Okay.
Okay. We do have a soap dispenser with goes with Friendo, comes in oil rub bronze and brushed nickel. Did I tell you the plastic ones aren't? Okay. Now, the problem with this is the Eclipse box comes with a faucet box has a spot in it where we can ship the soap dispensers. They included it. It doesn't cost us anything to ship us. These cost us more to ship. So these are the same price as these, even though this is a little higher quality, but the shipping is what costs us on this. But you can get this in oil rub bronze and brushed nickel. You can see it's a little shorter. Some of the things I told you that we looked for when we designed the Eclipse, these were handed to us.
No pop-up drain valves for the Friendo, correct?
Not like this.
Yeah. Okay.
We do not.
Okay.
Nor do we sell these separately.
Ordinary. Okay.
This is a guy.
These do come automatically with your
How's
Yeah.
it, the pushing, the pushing handle thing?
Normally, what they call pop-up is like the regular one. Those are, I guess, push to close. Like, is what they call them. You'd think they'd call it a pop-up, but it's not.
You're not the first one to notice that.
Put your head in.
So it's,
There's times
so,
when,
We're not hiding it,
There's no-
because it's all over the internet.
Yeah.
so if you
are
want to
they
be able to have a
Eclipse? When I
drain,
went online, it looked
Jelly
like they
jars.
were Eclipse. Are they Eclipse manufactured in that sense or not?
Friendo are not Eclipse.
All right.
Here's what happened with Eclipse. I told you, we're independent. We were looking forever to find a fluoro bronze with the quality and the no internet. We found it, and one of the other distributors in North Carolina says, well, I want that. Well, his contract was different than ours, and he couldn't bring it in without calling it Eclipse. So they call it Eclipse on the Eclipse website, but it's a Friendo.
Okay,
And that's politics,
all right.
company politics.
And these are Friendo is manufactured where?
China. Assembled in China of parts. For example, Eclipse, the body is cast and assembled in China. It's a German hose and a Spanish cartridge, and there's other parts from other. It's an international faucet. To the best of my knowledge, the smart answer is when somebody says, where is the Eclipse manufactured? We always say it's across the street from the Kohler plant in China. You gotta have that pause in there. To the best of my knowledge, there are no faucets made in America. There's one that's assembled here, and they try to pretend but it's really, it doesn't qualify for the 50%. To call something made in America, 50% of its value has to be added in America, and they don't qualify. We know this tariff on Chinese sinks, we had all kinds of issues. We had guys taking, they would punch the blanks in China, bring them to Mexico, and try to finish them in Mexico. First of all, they didn't know how to finish them in Mexico, and second of all, they got caught. A lot of guys were sending stuff to Vietnam or Malaysia or something, and then bringing it in and calling it Malaysian or Vietnamese. That's called transshipping. That's illegal. There's a guy down in Kentucky who was doing that, and he's now got three containers stuck in Miami. He can't get them. He won't get them. We're stainless steel guys, and we didn't really want to sell composites, but so many of our customers are asking for them, that we asked our customers, okay, what can we buy that won't give you problems? Because Eclipse looked at 45 different factories to make composite sinks, and they scratched, they hazed, when you pour hot water in them, they crack. Couldn't find one. Our customer all told us that the ones made in Germany are the only ones that hold up over time. They don't fade like some of them, they don't stain. So we went to the original factory in Germany that makes the brand name. And we have black and brown, double equal and offset in stock in Arlington Heights. They are indistinguishable from the brand name. Now the brand name has got a lip on theirs that you can use as a drop-in or an undermount, which causes the granite guys all kinds of headaches, because when you use it as an undermount, there's too much material. They can't get the faucets, and the soap, particularly the soap dispensers, don't fit. So most of granite fabricators cut it off. If you cut it off, you avoid the warranty. So we had it cut off in the factory, so it comes as a true undermount.